Hi, I'm Sarah Barrett Neal, Gallery Manager for the Glen Arbor Arts Center. Today we're in the clouds. Specifically, this is a conversation with Grand Rapids artist Jeff Condon, and we're going to be talking about the sky and the clouds that are a signature part of his paintings. All of this is part of the Art Center's new exhibit, The Sky is Always There, which continues through March 20. Jeff works in pastel, oil crayon, and oil stick, and he moves between, and I must say very fluidly, between depictions of interior and exterior space. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Sarah.
Let's talk a little bit about what your relationship has been with the sky over the years.
Okay. I have always been sort of amazed by the sky, and always, when I go outside, I always look up and see what's happening. And just the clouds are always just so beautiful. And I was thinking today that that is one thing that all around the world kind of unites us is the sky and the sun. And I mean, we look at different landscapes, but we all have the sky to look at. We all have clouds to notice. And just over all my years, I mean, just never ending possibilities, colors, shapes, patterns. Uh, yeah, it's just fascinating to me.
When you were a kid, you lived up in the Upper Peninsula.
Yes.
And I can't help but wonder if being in the UP started to seed, if you will, your brain with thoughts of clouds and sky.
Yeah, I think on the shores of Lake Superior, sunsets every night, cloud formations, and we would spend 2 weeks at my grandparents' farm,
Hmm.
and a lot of my love for landscape and texture, I think, came out of those two
Hmm.
2 weeks every year. Pathways, horizons, bales of hay, chickens, cows, all of these things going on in this little guy's brain. And I always say my landscapes are always just like a big funnel of all these things we see all of our life and sort of put in this funnel, then kind of digested and comes out on the paper. Um, but yeah, definitely, I think living close to nature and outside a lot. We weren't a TV family, so we were outside poking around at things.
Imagine that. I'm going to try to put one of your paintings up here and see if I can be successful in doing that.
Okay.
There we go. This is a new one for you.
Yes. Is that the harvesting the clouds? I don't see it right now, but
Yes, it is harvesting the clouds. Uh,
yeah. So that came out of um, September harvest month, harvesting tomatoes, harvesting things. And I just had this, I do a lot of, small farm scenes, landscapes, little barn. And I just had this idea like, wow, what if we like harvested the clouds? And so I kind of had this one cloud in the sky and then two other ones kind of lined up on the ground. Like maybe we'll need some clouds for the future, so let's harvest them and store them. So that was just a real fun. I love the title because it was like, you can't do that, but yeah, I can.
that ladder going up to the cloud is just tremendous. I love this little piece. So let's see if I can get back to us. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, here we go. And there we go again. Um, how did you learn to draw clouds?
Initially, I used a lot of photo reference.
Hmm.
So I would take photos of various clouds and then just kind of really studied them and realized, wow, almost every cloud is kind of weighted on the bottom, and there's a darker color. Not always, but in general, if it's carrying, precipitation, that it would feel like some weight. So I just initially started looking at those and layering more colors and almost seeing like how much can I add to this form and still have it read as a cloud.
Hmm.
So they're fairly realistic initially. And then gradually, just as I developed, I said, okay, what if clouds are just disks or circles or just one broad white line through the sky?
Hmm.
Is that still a cloud? Um, yeah.
I'm interested that you learned some science about clouds so that you began to understand that a cloud just isn't a big white puffy thing, that it actually has different hues and colors to it. And those hues and colors indicate different things about what the cloud is doing or going to do. So let's kind of recap that conversation we had a couple weeks ago about this. You talked about a process you went through where you were tending toward realistic interpretation of clouds, and then your brain asked, what if?
Yeah. So, like, after drawing so many clouds, it's like, okay, what if? What if these clouds were talking to talking to each other, or what if they were like siblings in the sky? So, I had one painting where there were two similar clouds, and I called it the siblings, and almost like they were talking to each other or being in the space together.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I'll have little cloud families kind of following the mama or papa cloud or across the horizon. Groupings. I think we talked about, are the clouds traveling? How are they relating to the other landscape pieces? And that was kind of curious because I think when we were talking, it was like, wow, what if the clouds are actually the beings, the people in the landscapes rather than a physical human being, but this cloud is the presence in the piece.
And lots of times your clouds will kind of have a dark, dark underbelly. And what does that mean in the science world that the cloud is going to be doing?
So usually that just means it's carrying a lot of water, and so it's ready to rain or to dump its water.
Yeah.
Um, and when I draw them, not always, but it's a really nice way to give the cloud some form, to almost become this sort of 3D object, this round
Yes.
cloud. And then the other parts of my landscape many times are very flat and patterned. So we'll have this field that I basically made an orange shape with a turquoise stripe cutting through it to be a pathway. And then this kind of voluminous cloud in the sky, which is a nice little, oh, okay, it is a landscape rather than just an abstract painting.
It's a really interesting tension in your paintings too, because of the flatness of the landscape and the human-made objects in it. And then the clouds always have some kind of volume suggested by
Yeah,
the decisions you make.
yes. Majority of the time they do. And then a few times, if you like search my paintings, you'll see just little simple discs. I think you referenced one where I had a pink sky and a lighter pink discs, totally
Hmm.
flat,
Hmm.
but just still the circular oval shape, which the reader reads as a cloud, even though it is
Hmm.
really just a little flat pancake.
Your clouds have personality. They have a presence. They're benevolent, almost sentient beings in the story you're telling about the land. You talked about having familial relationships between clouds. Mostly in the history of painting, I think, clouds are just there to suggest what's going up in the sky, if it's going to storm or something else. But you're bringing another dimension to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, yeah, just as you said, like, what are the clouds saying? Like, there's this scripture that says the sky pours forth speech. And I was always kind of amazed by that. Like, wow, like, what is the sky saying, or what are these clouds saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you the story of when our kids were little, a family had an autistic boy, and they threw this huge party for him. And after the party, I walked outside, and there was this enormous cloud, just like as big as a city in the sky. And it was just like, I just looked at that and I just had this sense like, wow, this was a really good thing this family did. This family, for this boy and for all the kids that came. And I ended up drawing a little picture of that and just told them, when I walked out of your party, this is what I saw and this is what I felt. Like, this was a good thing. And so in some of the paintings, um, yeah, trying to relate the importance of that, or a lot of times I will circle the clouds or tie them together. Um, I had a painting, I think it was called Untangling Our Memories, and it was all these clouds with just lots of thread around them, sort of like all like going back and trying to untangle what had happened. Stuff like that. It's really fun to play with.
You did another treatment of clouds. Talk about the little clouds that you put in clear bottles.
Oh yeah. So I had this idea of these little 2 by 3 inch, almost like a spice bottle. And I did individual clouds and put them in the bottles and called them remedies for cloudy days. Just sort of this little bottle of joy sort of thing sitting around, and sold those for a few years. And I was just surprised. It was like a $20 item. And a woman said that her and her sister, when her sister was sick, they would look at this little bottle and talk about different things they saw in it or this and that. And I was like, wow, this little thing, this little drawing, you never know what art does or what someone sees or what someone feels for it. But it just really warmed my heart that, wow, this little bottle like meant a lot to them when she was ill. So stories like that are always heartwarming, and oh, go figure.
You know, that's the really nice thing about exhibiting your work as you do on the art fair circuit, is you get a chance to have a direct relationship with the people who look at your work and also end up buying it. And in the world of art fair, it's always good to have a smaller item that may be more attainable than a larger piece. But in the case of these little cloud remedies,
Mhm.
I get the sense that it was just another one of your moments of delight that you thought to put into action.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It was like, oh, and I love the title. There's a remedy. It's like, oh, this could be this is more than just a little, and it was like in a little bottle, so like a little secret remedy for cloudy days.
It sure is a little remedy. Um, when you are doing a composition, what what happens in your brain when it's time to start inserting a cloud or two into a painting?
Mhm.
Is there anything pre-planned or is it an intuitive decision?
Uh, a little of both, I would say. So let's say I'm starting a drawing and I begin with a very simple sketch of where the horizon line is and start dividing up the spaces
Mm-hmm.
into sections. That comes from my graphic design background. And then I'll start filling in all the sections and shapes with color and pattern and that kind of thing. And I would say the clouds are the last element I add. So I might have a very flat, let's say a pink sky. And then I will just look and say, okay, I've got all this pattern over here. Uh, could a little cloud over here balance it? Or could this little cloud tie to the barn? What would
Mhm.
that say? So yeah, the clouds are the last element I add, and asking what does the composition need? Uh, does it need a big puff right in the middle, like just this big symmetrical giant cotton ball?
Mhm.
Is that too much, or is that too little? Uh, so yeah, adding those things is a fun thing. And a lot of times I will start with a line across the sky and then maybe add little clouds to the line, like marching off to the distance, or it varies every time, kind of whatever intuitive, what the piece is asking for, I would say.
We can think about things in advance and have them all neatly planned out. But when it comes time to execute the composition, the the whole neat plan sometimes gets blown up. And as you're suggesting, you have to see how all the different elements of your painting are playing together and
Yeah.
how they're talking to one another. And we want the clouds to talk nicely with the rest of it, I would imagine.
Yes, we do. We want some friendship going on.
Since you've been placing clouds in your work and painting them, how do you think that's influenced the way you look at the sky now?
Um, Still, I'll pull over and take pictures with my phone of clouds, and um, still simply amazed. Like I said earlier, just like, I mean, today outside it's a very cloudless day, but uh, yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, did you see that cloud? And then a lot of times, past customers will send me a picture of a cloud and said, look at, these are Jeff Condon clouds. It's like, well, not really, but I appreciate it.
That's
Uh,
interesting that people have you so um, tightly connected to clouds.
yeah, they do. They're like, it's happened several times where they will send me a picture, or we were driving and I said to my husband, look at that cloud.
What you're talking about makes me think that if people had more direct experience with things, instead of getting all their information through a screen or something abstract like that, we might have a different approach to how we walk through the world and how we think when we look up at the sky. And I'm wondering if any of that rings true in your life.
Yeah, I would say um, anytime I can get outside and look up or look down, um, it's always amazing. I'm still amazed like at the combination of zinnia colors, or we have chickens and the feathers on the chickens and the way they're iridescent sometimes. Uh, Anything to notice, I think, helps us ground us to the earth.
Hmm.
And, um, but it does take practice, because how often do we just, to the car, to the building, and not even, oh yeah, I guess it was sunny day, or and we'll miss things. Um, we did a little trek in Peru, and we had hiked through this mountain pass and it was all cloudy, so we missed a lot of the view. And the next morning, got out of our tent, and I was like brushing my teeth outside, and someone said, "Did you look behind you?" And I was like, "No." And I looked back, and it was like this amazing cloud and mountain. It's like, oh my gosh, I would have missed it because I was just like looking down at my toothbrush. So, yeah, note to self to just really notice what's around us, what's under our feet, what's stuck to your windshield wiper in your car,
Uh-huh.
an autumn leaf. It's fall now, so lots of leaves, lots of color, textures, things like that.
Jeff, thanks. I'm so appreciative of this conversation. We're going to put up examples of your paintings, your cloud paintings. That'll be part of the web page. And I want to thank everyone who watched today. The exhibit, The Sky is Always There, continues through March 20 in the main gallery. So please visit. And until next time, keep your head in the clouds. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate all your questions and your intuitive way you live.
Thank you. Bye-bye.